Mammals are what we call homeotherms. And that means that we have a specific range called a thermoneutral zone where animals, mammals, cows, do not have to expend energy in order to maintain their body temperature. Now, if we think about dairy calves, for instance, their thermoneutral zone is a lot different than mature cows because they're smaller, they're not lactating, and they're not ruminants. So that means that they're going to be shifted outside of the zone a lot earlier in the winter weather, which is why it comes down to this question about calves so often this time of year. So when we think about this zone and getting pushed outside of it, it really comes down to energy in and energy out. So what we want to do in the winter is add as much energy in as we possibly can and reduce the energy that's coming back out. And there's lots of different ways to do this. I like to talk about energy out first because this tends to be a little more economical, right? We don't have to put our dollars and cents into putting more energy in. We can just reduce the amount that she's sending back out. So this looks like really practical things like making sure that she has ample dry bedding. I tend to recommend straw bedding for that because it's the most insulative. We recommend a nesting score of 3 with that. So especially for newborns, that means that they're sitting inside that straw and you can't see their feet and legs. Another avenue of this is calf jackets. You probably hear a lot about calf jackets this time of year as well. Really, any of the jackets out on the market are doing a pretty great job of insulating that calf and again, reducing that energy that's going out. And then finally, we want to focus on proper ventilation this time of year. If you are housing in a calf barn, it gets really tempting to just close that barn up tight, right? To reduce that energy out. But we also have to balance that with air quality. We want to target about 4 to 6 air changes per hour in our calf barns this time of year to make sure that we're not generating a lot of ammonia or moisture that leads to respiratory disease. So it's kind of a balancing act of making sure our curtains are working properly and that we're using something like positive pressure tube ventilation in order to reduce the drafts but still keep fresh air in. So that was energy out. Now if we're looking at energy in, this comes into basically what that calf is eating. So milk, starter grain, and water. For our milk, we can focus on increasing total volume that we feed to calves or increasing the amount of milk powder that we mix in our milk replacer. I probably wouldn't go much over adding like about a quart to whatever your feeding curve is or adding about 0.5% of solids back to your milk. A really kind of more economical way to focus on energy in would be looking at water and starter grain. Calves love starter this time of year. You're probably going to notice they're going to eat a lot. So making sure it's available and fresh and really encouraging that intake can be helpful. So on that note, adding warm water to your routine, even though it's winter, can be really valuable because we make sure that we get that starter intake and calves are still hydrated.